Question is, the motion be agreed to. Member for Kwinana.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to talk about an issue which has united the people of Kwinana like none other I've seen in the time that I've had the privilege of being the local member. Last night a meeting was held in Kwinana where the community were invited to discuss with the council their feelings with regards to this. I think I unfortunately was here and at another function, so I couldn't be there. But if any of the Facebook action, the phone calls I got and the text messages, there is a great deal of strong feelings about the proposal for Kwinana to consider joining the city of Coburn under the amalgamations. And I think, look, there's no need for this clumsy marriage between Kwinana and Coburn. Kwinana is one of those suburbs which is one of the fastest growing cities in Western Australia, and left to its own devices would have well in excess of 80,000 people in a matter of 15 years or so. And so clearly it's on a growth trajectory, and there's no need for the government to force this clumsy marriage between them and the city of Kwinana. Now, the city of Kwinana has been in existence since the early 1950s. It was set up in 1952 to create a community to service the construction of the industrial strip. At that stage, the Kwinana BP refinery. Ultimately, it started as a road board and then became a council of elected members, or a board of elected members in the early 1960s. Now, Kwinana has a very strong identity. People call it the country town in Perth because it is somewhat isolated by not only by industrial development but also by heavy bushland. Bushland which Margaret Fieldman, the planner who established who designed the township of Kwinana, decided was compensation for living so close to such a heavily industrialised area. So the people of Kwinana have a very strong identity and a very strong view about their independence and how they should be able to continue on and forging that as an individual area. And so it's not surprising, therefore, Madam Acting Speaker, that when the council went out and did a survey in relation to this, there was a very strong response from the community, and well over 80, and of the respondents, 80% said that they wanted Kwinana to remain as a single entity. There was an even split between whether they go to Coburn or Rockingham, but the reason why there was an even split was around the issues of rates. And one of the issues which grates upon the people of Kwinana is that on a per capita basis, Kwinana has the highest rates per capita of any council in the area. It's, I guess, one of those councils which is feeling much of the same heat of the high taxing, high debt government which this Premier runs. But people of Kwinana are very strongly of the point of view that they should be able to remain a single entity. They've built the township of Kwinana from the bare bones. In many cases, it was the community themselves which did it. Madam Acting Speaker, you might be surprised to hear that it was in the 1980s. The only reason why the Kwinana Freeway actually made it to Kwinana is because the Kwinana Town Council actually put its hands in its pockets and gave $1 million to the Main Roads Department to get them to extend it to Thomas Road. That is the passion and that is the vision with which Kwinana sees its future. It has always been a fiercely independent community, and it has always wanted to defend that independence. I was reminded by one of the former councillors today that when Rockingham wanted to set up a legal aid centre in Scales, which was going to grow at the same time as the proposed law school at Murdoch, they couldn't actually do one because the licence for running a legal aid centre in that area was already owned by Kwinana. Kwinana was already undertaking the task of supporting its community members. And so it wants to support its community members now. And no one, Minister, is interested in the ideas that you have to jam it into this unholy marriage with the City of Coburn. And I don't know why the government is so hell-bent on making it go to Coburn. There is very little interest. Oh, yeah.
Members, there's a general noise in here. I could point out about 6 different conversations that are going on, which is all very nice, but it might be hard for Hansard because it's pretty hard to hear up here. So if you want conversations, take them outside.
And to paraphrase another member of Parliament, Madam Acting Speaker, clearly the Minister is not interested in what we on this side have to say because he's already made up his mind in relation to these issues. Or has he? And this is the question that we keep coming back to. You have flipped and flopped around this issue of council amalgamations ever since that you're a humble backbencher moving through to the lofty title of Minister for Local Government. And Minister, perhaps you can clarify for us, did you not make a commitment to several councillors at the recent council dinner in Kwinana that the city of Kwinana was not going to be required to amalgamate? Because the clear message that was gained from you that evening was that you were providing an assurance to people in the room that council amalgamation in relation to Kwinana was not a requirement. And so the Minister shakes his head and says, no, he did not make that commitment. No. So it'll be very interesting now to hear from those councillors again who were assured by you on that evening around these issues to see what they now have to say in relation to that matter. But nonetheless, the council in good faith has gone about a negotiated process with the City of Coburn, and I think it's fair to say they've reached a stalemate and that Kwinana withdrew from that process. And I can't, for the life of me, work out why the City of Kwinana went down such a long path with the City of Coburn, because clearly, if you are going to go about redrawing the boundaries for these local government authorities, surely one of the guiding principles must be communities of common interest, and those areas which naturally congregate around those communities of common interest. Now, people may not be familiar with the position of Kwinana in relation to the City of Coburn, Madam Acting Speaker, but essentially the City of Kwinana is divided from the City of Coburn by a sea of toxic sludge. That is by the Alcoa slurry ponds, which is essentially several hectares of caustic soda sludge as waste from the Alcoa refinery, separate Kwinana from Coburn. So how in your life do you actually sort of picture that there's this natural connection between Coburn and Kwinana? How do you, apart from the fact that they share an industrial strip, which is true, but Kwinana also shares an industrial strip with Rockingham. So why is Rockingham left out of the equation? Why is it that Kwinana has to sort of leapfrog or tippy-toe over the toxic sludge to get to their city council chambers at Coburn, because one assumes that's where it would be, given that the population of Coburn is so much higher than Kwinana's? Why is it that they are being forced into that sort of clumsy marriage when clearly the area of common interest is with Rockingham? And so you undertake a bit of a Google search of the phrase Rockingham Kwinana, Madam Acting Speaker, and you come up with an extraordinary list. If you were born in the area, you likely would have been born at the Rockingham Kwinana District Hospital, now the Rockingham Hospital. As you went through life, you may have gone into business and you might become a member of the Rockingham Kwinana Chamber of Commerce. As a young member in the community, you might have been a member of the Rockingham Kwinana Rotaract Club. If you were ill or if you had some sort of health issues, you might have been associated with the Rockingham Kwinana Child and Adolescent Health Services, or indeed the Peel and Rockingham Kwinana Community Health Service. You might have even gone to the Rockingham Kwinana Public Health Development Information Unit. And of course, the Premier will be down to open up the Mundijong Road extension when that's built between Kwinana Freeway and Rockingham. And of course, that's a development which is being championed by the Honourable Phil Edmund as the chairman of the Rockingham Kwinana Development Office. It's enough to drive you to the Rockingham Kwinana Mental Health Services in the area. But if you're in more trouble, you might be able to ring up the Rockingham Kwinana State Emergency Service, or if you're continuing to feel ill, you would have gone to the Rockingham Kwinana Division of General Practice before it recently became the Medicare Local. I couldn't find any Kwinana COVID references, member for Warnbro, but I worked hard at it. But if I was unemployed and I was working hard, I could have gone to the Bridging the Gap Rockingham Kwinana branch. And speaking of branches, if I needed some trees, I could have gone to the Men of Trees Rockingham Kwinana Nursery. As a young person, I might have gone to the PCYC, which services the Rockingham Kwinana area. If I was a young Aboriginal person or an Aboriginal person, I might have been receiving services from the Rockingham Kwinana Closing the Gap Centre. As a small business owner, I might have also gone to the Rockingham Kwinana Small Business Centre. Or perhaps if I had some trouble, I might have been referred to the Peel District of Police, which is, of course, based in Rockingham. If there were some drug issues involved, I might have been referred to the Rockingham Kwinana Local Drug Action Group. And indeed, I might have looked them up in the Rockingham Kwinana Business Directory. All these references to Rockingham Kwinana, of course, Madam Acting Speaker, would see me to my grave, which would ultimately see me buried at the Rockingham Kwinana Cemetery. So why is it all of a sudden that we have a government have a government that's so hell-bent on making this marriage with the City of Coburg? And of course, it's driven by conveniences of population, and that is there's a small population in Kwinana, a larger population in Coburg, and therefore some boffin somewhere in the system goes, well, that's a neat fit. It's driven, I suspect, in part from the point of view of Kwinana, is that the City of Kwinana I suspect the City of Rockingham, I don't know if this is the case because no conversations have gone on between Rockingham and Kwinana and for some reason, but the City of Rockingham probably doesn't want the City of Kwinana's debt. The City of Kwinana probably doesn't want the City of Rockingham's depreciating assets. And the people of Kwinana probably want the City of Coburn's lower rates. But all these things pale into insignificance when you are trying to create a community. And there is no community of common interest between the City of Coburg and the City of Kwinana. As I said, Madam Acting Speaker, people in Kwinana do not want to be amalgamated. They don't want this minister to turn around and call them all of a sudden a part of the City of Coburg. What they want is to remain part of the City of Kwinana. And that's why it is so fiercely opposed by the people of Kwinana. That's why almost every councillor to a man and woman believe that they should be independent. That's why, despite the diversity of opinions about a whole range of issues to do with council services, with management of council, with the future of the council, they are united in one particular view, and that is that they don't want to see the Barnett government force them to amalgamate with the City of Coburg. Should there be amalgamations, why they're actually contemplating pushing them into Coburg is completely beyond me. There is no community of common interest. There are some technical conveniences which might appeal to some bureaucrat that's been drawing lines on a map, but there is absolutely nothing which justifies the City of Coburg City of Kwinana being forced to amalgamate with the City of Coburg.
In accordance with Standing Order 61, the business is interrupted and adjourned until a later stage of this day's sitting. I will now vacate the chair until the ringing of the bells.